several 2023 examples, so current examples of stocks that are on his radar right now that could be flashing this leadership potential. And he also talks about the difference between stocks that you trade and stocks that you want to hold for big moves. So take a look.
You can trade anything you want. If your time frame is days or a couple weeks, you can trade any technical setup you want. But if you want something where you buy it and you can hold it for months and maybe even, if we get into a better market, a year and a half, and we get a good bull market, you can hold it for a long time. What do you need? Well, you need earnings. And the earnings is what powers any stock and actually powers any big move in a stock. And I just pulled this out of the market's greatest winners. This is Macy's. And what the only two things I want you to look on at this chart is the price performance and the earnings line. And David, can you point these? Can you? Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is the earnings line here that I'm tracing.
Yes, that's the earnings line, and that shows you on a graphical presentation of what the earnings are doing. And if you look at the earnings line in relation to what the stock is doing, so you can actually go about to the far end of the stock or to the far left side of this chart, and you'll see that it had a nice earnings move. You see the earnings line in a nice uptrend there. And what did the stock move? The stock had a really nice move up during that period of time. And I guess it went a little bit farther, but when those earnings were flat, the stock didn't make too much progress. Maybe we were in a good market and it was moving up. But then if you maybe highlight again where it really accelerated the earnings in the last 18 months to 2 years of this chart. Yeah, right. It would be really right there where that earnings line really picked up, where the earnings really jumped higher. That created the move. And if we look, we can look at all the greatest winners over the decades, you'll see wherever those earnings go, wherever that earnings line go, when that thing picks up and goes higher. And on MarketSmith, we don't have the earnings line. Maybe at some point we can put in an earnings line. I'd love to see an earnings line on a weekly or monthly chart. Any stock, any great winning stock, especially if it goes for a year or a number of years, and you can look at everything from the Apples and the Home Depots and Costco's, is when their earnings are accelerated, that's when the stocks make the great moves. And so that's what the point is that if you should be concentrating on the stocks that have have the big earnings and the earnings acceleration. Those are the ones during a very whipsawing trading range type of a market on the indexes, that these are the ones that are probably going to make the better moves in a year like we're in so far. You'll see that there's some great earnings acceleration. It actually made a nice move from the October lows. It made a really nice move. It went from 30 up to 46, did not give much back, and then got this second move up from the lower 40s, now up into the mid 50s. But what created that? Well, you created that it had nice earnings already going, but then it had that acceleration in the last 2 quarters of earnings. Now the stock is very, very extended, but I want to talk about the earnings. We also looked at AEHR, and that also in the last couple of quarters have had, you can actually go the last 4 quarters, they've had a huge increase in earnings, and that creates continued moves. So you have to separate out in your mind what you're just trading for a couple of weeks if you're going to do that, and you can do that on any stock that sets up technically. And a lot of those, if you look at stocks like, if you go to something that hasn't performed well but has rallies, go to PayPal, and you'll see that PayPal can make, the stock hit a high of 300 back in June, September quarter of 21, and then came down hard, but had some moves from, I think, in the March quarter of 22, it moved from 92. Sorry, 92 to 120, and then had another move at the June quarter from a low of 80 up to 100. And then just recently from December, it had a move from December 23. The low was 86 to
66, maybe 66.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 66 to 86.